I'm excited to be here today. I've put a lot of thought into what I should share today. And one thing I'm very curious about is the process of how we work. What role do the tools we use play in the production of our work? Do the tools we use influence our way of thinking, problem solving, and designing? And what can we learn from our past? And how does it compare to how we work today? Are there components of those tools, techniques, and methodologies that we've somehow lost along the way? Or perhaps overlooked as those tools and techniques have changed? For centuries, the noun digit from the Latin digitus has been defined as finger, but now its adjectival form digital relates to data. Are hands becoming obsolete as creative tools? Are they being replaced by machines? So Michael Graves really got me thinking, and I realized something. I miss my pencil. I really do. I studied architecture, which is where I first learned how to use sketching as a tool to process information and as a design tool. In thinking about what I wanted to share today, I thought that sharing this aspect of my design process might be useful to others in the way that they work and in the way that you record information as well. So I've identified 5 reasons why all of us as cartographers should pick up our pencils. So the first point here is everyone can draw. I mean this. I know that you won't all believe me, but we're often discouraged from drawing because we think we need artistic talent to draw. But we all write without expecting ourselves to be accomplished authors. We expect our own writing to be clear and accurate, but not necessarily beautiful. And I think this is a useful frame of mind for drawing as well. I don't think we have to think that our sketches have to be beautiful. Look at this one. It's intended to be messy and to communicate some ideas, and I think that's okay. And the good news, too, is that most of us already think in words and pictures. 25% of us in words, 45 in words and pictures, 30 in pictures. So it's only natural that we ought to work with both words and drawings. Like Corbusier was one of the great architects of the 20th century and probably all time. And these are the kinds of drawings he made in his sketchbook. They're not intended to be works of art. Their role is to express and explore ideas. And, we may never design like Corbusier, but there's no reason we can't sketch like him. So point number 2, drawing helps us remember. The act of selecting information, interpreting it, and getting it down enables us to really understand the information in a more meaningful way and allows us to make new associations and find deeper understandings than a photograph, observation, or just pinning an image to a board in Pinterest can provide. Take today, for example. This is a great opportunity to record information that we're hearing and ideas that we're hearing from these talks in visual form. The page on the right there is one from a lecture I attended a few years ago. I try not to feel pressured to turn every single piece of information into a sketch or drawing when I'm taking these kinds of visual notes. But I try to integrate some maps and diagrams and annotated illustrations as much as possible. Another way to take those visual notes is here in the bottom right sketch there. When I see something I like in a map or an information graphic, I like to sketch it in order to save that idea for later. And drawing helps to remember that idea. The act of drawing it somehow helps to remember it. Our sketchbooks can then serve as archives of these ideas and a place to look for inspiration when working on future projects. 3, drawing to help us process information. A graphic is no longer drawn once and for all. It is constructed and reconstructed, manipulated until all the relationships which lie within it have been perceived. Sketching can be more than a means of recording information. It can also be a tool for design and problem solving. Here's one of Harry Beck's early sketches for the London Tube map or diagram. And it shows a lot of visual exploration, whiteout, erasing, drawing, and redrawing, a truly iterative process. And here's some iterative sketches that I made for a map of parks in Portland. One idea here is very diagrammatic. One's a section cut through the region. One's an oblique aerial view. And after spending some time sketching in a really loose and exploratory way on an idea for a project, like in this drawing here, I'll start to try to develop 2 or 3 different ideas and to make them very different and unique from one another. And this approach offers a relatively fast way to test the pros and cons of each concept. And the process of trying to create a new idea inevitably leads to more and encourages creativity. Here's a look at the finished piece that those sketches eventually led to. Here's another example. This is a report produced by the City of Portland that describes the state of cycling in the city. And while reading the report, I took visual notes and tried to distill the report and pull out insights. And those quick sketches were the seeds that I developed later then through the design process and ultimately into the finished product. A map and data visualization that pulls many of those insights from the report into a single image. And the act of sketching and visualizing at the beginning of the project was instrumental in shaping the final design. 4, drawing limits distractions.
Check my email really quick. Oh my God. All the new post has the top 10. One more text. Software update. I gotta watch these movies and I gotta return it. Help. Gary? Gotta check my texts, my email.
Fred?
Help. One more text. I gotta watch all these movies before they have to return them. Up on my queue and top 10 family photos. Okay, just one more text. MP3s and whatever. My DVR.
No, please put it
check
down.
my Facebook update. I can Tumblr.
Fred, wait, please. You know what's happening, right? You're spiraling. You're out of control.
Yeah.
No, there's too many things going on. But
I want to check my texts.
You're out, right?
Help me, please.
I'm
Please
trying.
help me.
So on the computer, email and Twitter are, just a click away. But when we draw, the only distraction from the act of drawing itself is thinking and daydreaming about the drawing, which I've come to learn is as much part of the act of drawing as putting the pen to paper. And rules and T-squares aren't involved, decimals, degrees, pixels, and picas are forgotten. And it's an incredible advantage because it enables us to focus on what really matters. Sketching is a great way to focus on the big ideas, composition, form, concept, without getting hung up on the details. And finally, 5, keep a journal. Judged by the days, life does not make sense. Judged by the years, things add up and a plan emerges. A good reason to keep a journal is to have the consolation of seeing patterns form. And not only is it fun to find patterns that emerge in your thinking and work, but on a more practical level, many of those design ideas that went unused for specific projects can be great starting points for new concepts and new projects. And finally, one really cool aspect of sketching is that it's really fun. It's fun to draw. It's satisfying to make a sketch. And it's also fun to share your work and see what kinds of drawings and sketches other people are making. So I'm hoping some of you might join me over the next few days and maybe months even, and share some photos of your sketches on Twitter and Instagram with the hashtag #cartographersketch. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Not a question exactly, but a comment, because I want to hear a little bit more about the freedom that you have, more so by using your hand to create things that you're not capable of doing just with these devices, because we're constrained by the interface of the plastic devices or the keyboards, and yet with the hand you can just have much more freedom. So just any comments on that?
I think that's right. There's something intimidating about a blank piece of paper, but also incredibly exciting because anything's possible when you have a pencil or a pen and that blank piece of paper. And I think more philosophically, at least for me in my work, it's really important to put those concepts ahead of the limitations and come to the limitations that are inherent in the tools of production later in the process, rather than starting with those. So that's where I think the freehand sketching and drawing has a lot to offer.
First off, I just want to say, awesome with the cartographer sketch and the whole idea of just putting previous work out there before a final product. But I guess like, I'm kind of curious, how often do you do like a really cool sketch or something, and then when you actually do try to like pull it into the like various digital tools, kind of realize like, oh crap, this might not actually work?
Oh yeah, totally. So that happens all the time. Yeah. So one thing I've been trying to do is I try to also sketch as much as I can using those digital tools. So to quickly test ideas and to see, once the real data comes in, or the real map projection, or whatever it is, those limitations, once they start to influence the project, does it still work? And it's one of those things, the more I work this way, the faster it gets and the better I can sense when I'm making the sketch. Like, will this actually work, when it moves to the computer, or will it fail?
How often do you sketch in color?
I try to draw a little bit every day. I go through phases, though. I'll stop and then I'll start again. I'm sorry, did I not understand?
Color.
Oh, in color. That's a good question. My latest sketchbook has some color stuff in it. Every now and then. A lot of times I keep some markers with me that are bright, bold colors, and sometimes I'll draw in black or gray and then have that color available to highlight a particular piece of information, just as you might do in an information graphic or something of that nature, but very rarely in full color. Not that that should stop you, though.
Any other questions?
Yeah, here.
Thank you. I had just two questions. First is, how do you use your sketchbooks when you're coming back to them at a later point in time? Just reveal a little bit about your process, how frequently, how deliberately you do that. And secondly, how disciplined do you need to be in terms of keeping your brain slow enough to allow your hand to catch up?
That's interesting. Yeah, let me answer the second one first. One thing I like to do is draw at a different table than the desk where I have my computer and those distractions. And it takes a little while to like kind of get into it sometimes. Like if I'm sketching, like the ones I showed where I was sketching concepts for projects, it's hard to kind of change your brain and get it to turn off in a way and slow down. But I find after sketching for a few minutes, like it usually goes there. And the pace, you kind of move into a different pace. And your brain catches up with what you're doing and focuses on it. And to answer your first question, how often do I look back at the other sketchbooks? Not very often. I'll do it a lot when I'm preparing for something like this, where I'm kind of wondering like, okay, is there a theme through there? Is there a question or a problem that I've been chasing over time? And it's amazing how often you find the same seeds over and over again, the same kind of obsessions or questions coming along over and over again in your own work. It's something I don't think I'd see if I just looked at my finished products, maybe, or other kinds of written notes that I had taken.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks.